What is up, all you beautiful people? It is I, AkemiTCG, back here with the brand new deck profile. So, I wanted to post this video a little bit earlier in the beginning of September. This is a Dogmatika updated deck profile from the undefeated one, but I just don't want to post a deck profile doing willy-nilly, alright? I want to make sure I did some testing at locals to figure out what worked and what didn't work. So here is the result. Hope you all enjoy. Alright guys, we are back. And now let's just go right into the whole deck. Again, I just want to do a little bit of testing at locals before I actually showcase this deck, because I'm trying about a little bit of a different build. And you guys are going to see, and it's going to be quite controversial. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with 3 Alistair, the Invoker. Obviously, you're playing 3 Alistair and the Invoker. We're not going to talk about that. You're playing the Invoked Dogmatika build. I like this build a lot, in my opinion, because you can play around Nibiru, pretty much kill boards, etc. It's pretty good, in my opinion. 3 Ecclesia. Don't have to talk about that too much. 2 Flirtus. I like this at 2. I do not like this at 3 too much, just because A, it can get bricky, and B, sometimes it just doesn't show up. Like, sometimes you're gonna hard draw into this and you're not gonna have an extra deck monster or a Dogmatika card, so you have to wait for it, which is kind of funky. But here's the first change I made. 1 Dogmatika Maximus. Why am I playing 1? So A, it's a meta call in the sense that a lot of people are playing Cyber Dragon Nova, or they're playing 2 Natissus in their extra deck just to counter this deck because it's quite popular. And I thought shifting this to 1 would be a good call, because not a lot of people, or rather when I go to locals, there's going to be usually a couple people that aren't prepared for Dogmatika, so they don't have anything in the extra deck for, and or they don't have space in the extra deck. So I'm playing this at 1 just for those particular people. But for the people that know the matchup, for the people that have a really good foundation understanding of Dogmatika, I will most likely side this out. And or if I summon it game 1, I'll try to activate it. You can 50-50 it. You can activate it, hope they don't have something in the extra deck for it, because if they do, you're in trouble. But if they don't, then it's free, and you know how to side it out games 2 and 3 anyways. So it's pretty good there. And also, you can just special summon it for free, so if you need to get an extra 1500 body on board or 3k booty on board, then you got it. Excuse me. Now you're playing a whole bunch of hand traps. I am playing 2 Ash Blossom. I like this at 2 just because it's a hard once. A lot of people will disagree with this because they want to play it at 3, but that's completely fine. I am playing 2 DD Crow. I like this card also a lot, this format. It also doesn't help that the people at my locals play a lot of very heavily graveyard reliant stuff, so I am putting in DD Crow just for specifically those people. And also 2 Veiler. I used to play Ogre. I thought about it, and I realized Veiler is a lot more effective personally at the locals I go to, just because a lot of people have their normal summon. They're like normal summon Stratos, you can Veiler. And no, also with Anaconda running rampant, I can't just Ghost Ogre the Anaconda. I have to Veiler the Anaconda or Ghost Mourner. It just really depends, but this is slightly more flexible. However, Ghost Mourner can be during either player's turn, so you have to pick and choose your battles there. You could potentially replace the 2 DD Crows with Ghost Mourner if you're really feeling it, but that's completely up to you. And also 2 Nibiru. This does come out quite often because I play a whole bunch of hand traps, like a plethora of hand traps. Nibiru is extremely good. Remember, it works well in conjunction with other hand traps. You could also play 2 Phantasmate over DD Crow, completely up to preference as well. I cut down my Call by the Graves on the spells. We have 2 Call by the Graves. I cut this down to 2 just because I'm playing another card that you're going to see afterwards, which will explain the reasoning. You could hypothetically keep this at 3, but that's completely up to you as well. Playing Triple Droplet. This card helps me wonders, especially during damage step. A lot of people forget that it cuts the attack in half, so just cutting attack in half, getting rid of your Meltdown that you already use is super free. And it's just a good card. It's just a really good card for breaking boards, which this deck potentially has trouble with. Double Invocation, again, 3 is a little bit bricky. 2 is already low-key. 2 is already slightly bricky. It does happen where you shuffle back your Invocation, add Alistair back to hand, and you're gonna draw into another Invocation. It just happens, dude. I don't know why, it just happens. Alright, triple meltdown for your Alistar plays. I actually had one hand in a recent tournament where I drew into triple meltdown, one invocation, and one of my sideboard cards, and it really sucks. It just happens. It really does suck, especially since that meltdown's a hard once activation. So if they like Gold Ogre or Ash or meltdown, you just kind of don't really have any more plays for the rest of the turn, which really sucks. But I'm playing obviously triple Nadir Servant to search out your Dogmatika cards, and the new card that helps with the Call by the Grave cutting, and also I took out Pot of Desires, if you guys couldn't tell, is triple Tactics Talent. So initially I was a proponent against this card because I thought it's way too reliant on your opponent doing something, which it still is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that one, but however, you know, everybody's playing Dragoon, especially at this local. Everybody was legit playing Red Eyes Dragoon or some sort of monster effect on my turn, some sort of monster interruption on my turn, where every time I drew into this card, it never didn't come up. And I don't want to play this at 3 just because I don't want to draw into multiples. That's completely my preference here. And since this is control and not necessarily combo, you don't necessarily need as much. If I'm playing combo, for example, I play Infernobles, I would play 3 of these because there's a high chance my Infernoble stuff is going to be negated or going to be interrupted, and this is like kind of like the out to it. I can fish and draw 2 cards, or I can look at my opponent's hand, figure out what they're doing next turn, and then interrupt it, like low-key, by shuffling 1 card back. So it's good. Now on to the traps. Playing 1 Dogmatika Punishment. I cut this down to 1. I didn't quite like it that much at 2. I mean, yes, you can get the Natis pop and everything, but it targets. And the problem with targeting right now is if Dogmatika Punishment loses its target, then it won't resolve. I don't send anything, nothing happens. Literally nothing happens, and it really sucks when that happens. So that's why I'm playing at 1. It is searchable too, so that's completely up to your preference. If you want to get more stuff from your extra deck to the graveyard, you can, but I feel like there's a card slightly better than Dogmatika Punishment in this deck that I'm running now, and I am playing 3 Ice Dragon's Prison. Why am I playing this card? Akemi, why are you doing this? Why? Alright, so for the last tournament, I was playing with the Red Ice Fusion package. My gut told me no, because I knew I'm gonna pay for playing the bricks in my deck. But I decided to go against my gut anyways, and I decided to play the Red Ice Fusion package, and I drew into my vanillas so often, you wouldn't believe it, man. I would play triple Tactics Talent, I would just draw into my vanillas, like left and right, or I would just hard draw into my vanillas when I would need something else, and it really sucked. Like, even if it was upstart, like low-key could have been better, but I thought about all the times I drew into Red Eyes Black Dragon or Dark Magician, and by the way, I never summoned it once, Dragooned it once, because they always had Imperm, they always had Valor, etc. The reason why I think Ice Dragon's Prison is extremely good right now is A, it interrupts something in the graveyard. So if your opponent's targeting something in the graveyard, let's say with Monster Reborn or something, or Living Fossil, because a lot of decks are playing extenders, you Ice Dragon's Prison, revive that monster. Secondly, the second effect is optional, where it gets the banish. It's a non-targeting banish for the same type. So if they have a Dragoon out on the field, and you bait out the Dragoon successfully with one of your other cards, for example, Punishment's a really good bait to Dragoon, for whatever reason they want to negate it, Ice Dragon's Prison does not target. So it's going to revive their Dark Magician that's in the graveyard because it's a spellcaster, and then it's going to banish both Dark Magician and Dragoon, non-targeting. And it's a good interruption, and on your turn, you can win with it too. You can, if you kill the Dragoon, and let's say you have 2 set, right? It's not necessarily too bad. You kill the Dragoon, on the next turn you revive the Dragoon back, and you can still attack with it. Because the Dragoon was successfully fusion summoned, so you can still attack with it. You can literally still attack with literally any of your monsters, or the opponent's monsters are in the graveyard, and you're gonna win a lot of games with this card. Trust me. And I'm playing triple Infinite Impermanence because this card is just good. We don't need to talk about this card. And then 1 Shaddoll Schism. It's gonna be our final card. Obviously, Schism is for the whole entire Shaddoll package, because I thought about taking it out, but it's kind of a little bit too good not to run, especially since it's a 1 card thing. Alright, next. On to the extra deck. We have 2 Natissus for the pops. I still play 2 because I like it at 2. And the Dude Servant's nice. Maximus is super nice if you can resolve it without shooting yourself in the foot. It's really nice. 1 Apocalypse and 1 Window. I took out Construct just because I know I wasn't going to go into Maximus as much. So I realized I can just save myself some extra deck space and just pitch something with Apocalypse if I search for the other card anyway. So not too bad. And then my other card I am playing is I don't have this on hand just because I tested a different build last week, and Fossil Warrior Skull Knight is going to be the next optimal card in my opinion, because you get to choose when you want to pop your monster. I know it does target, but you get to choose when you want to pop the monster. So hypothetically, if you play Maximus, you can pop more than 1 card because you can Natis and Skull Knight and pop 2 cards, which is super nice. I like that. 1 Invoked Goatees for the Invoke package. This has come up where you just straight up destroy a monster, and also if your opponent special summons a monster, you can straight up yeet it as well, which is really cool. 2 Macabas and 1 Purgatrio. Purgatrio did come up where I want to get into Purgatrio. Attacks everything once. Yeet for the game. 1 Titaniclad. Again, I do not like this at 2 just because I feel like after you resolve 1, you really run out of targets. Usually you resolve 1 Titaniclad, summon your Ecclesia, get your Flodis, and it's super free. 1 Amirage, 1 Gardener for the Invoke plays, and then 1 this is so funny, at Ignister, the Wind Pegasus or Wind Pegasus at Ignister. I tested this out and I really liked it a lot. With Punishment, you can send your at Ignister, and now when they kill a monster by battle, especially if they're unaware of this, they destroy a monster by battle or card effect, then I get to literally shuffle one of your opponent's cards back into the deck, which is super nice. I like that. And it's a good card. Not much to say there. And 1 Cypher Lord, Omega. Omega's gonna shuffle back your stuff in the graveyard. Unfortunately, I'm not running Gamma. I do like Gamma, but if my Nadir Servant gets Ash, it's really not the end of the world. That's just a personal preference for me. Completely up to you guys how you see Gamma in a sense, but Omega is simply there just to shuffle back, let's say like my Muse Natis, Titaniclad, or whatever card I use prior. And 1 Cyber Dragon Nova, just in case I'm blind playing against a Dogmatika player and they don't think I'm playing Dogmatika, so they use Maximus and hit my Nova. It hasn't come up, but I'm gonna see what happens. If I get the reputation of that Dogmatika player at my locals, then I'll probably just side or take out Nova and put in a better extra deck card. But the extra deck, I'm not gonna lie, is not that tight. Onto the side deck. So the side deck, my side deck is built around for the people at my locals. I highly recommend siding for the players you know you're playing against. Obviously, if everybody was playing Eldritch, etc., then it'd be a lot simpler to side deck. But fortunately, at my locals, there's a lot of rogue players, to say the least, and also at the same time a lot of meta players as well. So there's like Infernoble, Emancipators. Those are pretty much the main 2 decks that win. And we have 1 Eldritch guy, but he didn't do too well. I don't know if he was new to the game and just wanted to, you know, pay to win, but I have no clue. But anyways, I digress. 1 Red Reboot, just because this deck low-key loses to hard control traps, like low-key but not low-key, very high-key. 2 Drone Lockbirds. I play against a lot of hero players and pendulum players at my locals, so Drone Lockbird in my opinion is the right call. 3 Mystic Mine. I optimized this whole entire side deck for going second because this deck does want to go first. So 3 Mystic Mine, just to stall out the opponent just to get more resources and then end or close out the game. So you Mystic Mine, and whenever you're done, you just either, if you drew into a second Mystic Mine, you can set it, or you can use the Meltdown and set the Meltdown instead. I actually won a couple games because of this card. And then 3 Gamma Seal. Just for the Dragoon plays, I consider playing Sphere Mode, but sometimes they don't end on 3. Sometimes they literally just end up on Dragoon because of Red Eyes Fusion. So Gamma Seal is the out for that. And then 3 Lightning Storms, and then triple Evilly. Alright, let's go do some test hands, alright? Okay, so now we're just gonna do a few test hands just to see how well this deck can perform. I'm standing here, now I'm sitting. I'm sitting, guys. Bam. 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 Okay. Dear Servant, maybe they may or may not have Ash for this. We already do have the Maximus, so we can just kind of pop off there. Really up to you if you want to pop off there. So you can get a Apocalypse, or if you just want to end on Ecclesia Flordis without resolving Maximus, then you can get the what's it called? Titaniclad instead. I'm like slurring my words here, guys. Get that Ecclesia. Then Apocalypse is gonna resolve, and you're gonna grab Schism, and then you can pitch either DD Crow or Invocation, completely up to you. I'm gonna pitch Invocation because you technically really don't need it right now. You're gonna summon your Ecclesia. It's kind of spacey here. Either grab your Flordis or your excuse me, or your the other one, Punishment. You're gonna use Maximus, and you're gonna banish your Apocalypse because you already resolved it, and then you're gonna special summon Maximus. Maximus is gonna use its effect, and you're gonna get rid of Titaniclad. That's 1, and then 2. You can even get rid of an early Skull Knight if you wish, and or just an early Omega or Wind Pegasus. Completely up to you, but I would get rid of the Wind Pegasus just in case one of my cards die. Most likely that'll happen. You set 1, set 2, set 3. You can set 3 in pass. Completely up to you. Make sure they're in different columns. I'm just a little spaced up here, and then during end phase, you can get yourself a Flordis. So you have, let's see, 1 interruption here, 2 interruptions, 3 interruptions, 1 window, which is a hard interruption, and then 5. So 5 interruptions. It's pretty good off of that hand. Pretty good. Oh, let's do one more test hand because I don't want to hold you guys up too long. Then we're gonna cut 1, 2. Ooh, that's already too good. Okay, so Valor's not a hard once return, so this is super nice. But we already saw the combo, the OG combo with Nadir and Alistair from the last video. I'm gonna link an iCard above if you want to take a look at that. That really hasn't changed. So I'm gonna use Nadir Servant. Let's say hypothetically, okay, let's say hypothetically it gets Ash. So now you're gonna activate Triple Tactica's talent. So it really depends on whether or not they do something about Alistair. So first what I do is I play Alistair first. You play Alistair, try to do your play, try to get Invocation. If that gets hit as well, now your opponent has 3 cards in their hand. If they have 3 cards in their hand, then you can Triple Tactics Talent them, rip a card out of their hand. But if they don't choose to rip something, I mean if they don't choose to do anything about the Alistair, you can choose to draw 2 instead. So let's see the multiple pathways. So if they negate the Alistair, they do something about the Alistair, then you Triple Tactics Talent, and now you rip a card out of their hand. Now they have 2 cards in hand. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, guys. And you get to know what they have in the hand. And you also, hypothetically, get to know what deck they're playing, unless it's just straight hand traps. Then you have no idea. But let's say you draw 2 cards. Let's see what happens here. So Flordis and Invocation. So it works out, guys. It works out. It completely works out. So here you would just go into these Almirage, and then the Secure Gardener. This is literally the bread and butter play. Activate that Invocation, get yourself that clean Macabre. Then Invocation, just shuffle it back from the graveyard, obviously. Get your Alistair back. Now you have a Flordis, which is not really an interruption, but you do have 2 interruptions with Valor. And if you resolve the Triple Tactical Talents this way to draw 2 cards, your opponent would now have 3 cards in hand to work with. And they're gonna draw, they're gonna have 4, and then if you interrupt, hypothetically, you have 3 interruptions, 1, 2, 3. So if those are all monster effects, then they only have 1 card to try to actually annihilate you with. So It's pretty good. It's pretty good, guys. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed the video. If you liked it, make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one, alright? Peace.
The world ends now.